Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Rules of Engagement. Before I jump into the next section of analysis, I want to remind you guys, if you miss any of our content here, or you're looking for a live stream, you can't find it, you want to check out some great content, youtube.com/official MLGSC2. Everything from our championship events, our qualifiers for championship events, our Winter Series showdowns, our Winter Exhibition Tournament, our Fun 2v2 matches, Rules of Engagement, top 5s, top 10s, everything we do here at MLG, we throw up on YouTube, youtube.com/official MLGSC2, in 1080p, high quality for free. So go ahead, check it out. There's a lot of great videos there. Type in your favorite player, and you probably have some of their games on our YouTube site. So moving on to our next analysis is going to be on Aklon Waste between the Vibe and STC, and it's going to be about mid-game Zerg versus Terran aggression. So we're going to talk about first about drone scouting versus Terran and why you might want to do it or why you might not. Denying the Terran third, it's the key part about mid-game Zerg aggression, and then also speeding run buys and the role they play in your style. So we're going to start this game off very early on at the 230 mark, because I want to talk about the drone scout that Vibe does, right? It's something that Vibe does a lot. Now, a lot of top Zergs don't do this. Some of them will check for proxy barracks around their base and go home. Some of them will drone scout their opponent, and some of them just won't drone scout at all. And there's not a 100% right answer to this. But one thing that I would recommend for you players is if you like to play a lot of different openings depending on what you scout. Like you say, okay, if they're going to Reaper opening, I want to get a super fast gas and do some crazy roach rush or get really fast speed. If they're doing just a pure macro opening, I want to go the third hatchery before spawning pool, right? It was exactly what Vibe's doing. Or maybe I have this special custom build I like to do if I see them going proxy 2 racks, right? If you have all these very custom builds that are extremely reactive, then you want to do a drone scout. If you don't really have any intention, you have your standard, your opening to 40 food is going to be kind of the same no matter what, which it is for a lot of pro gamers. There's nothing wrong with having a standard, opening up to like 30 food even, or 40 food even, or even 50, right? There's a lot of standard openings. Then there's no point drone scouting because you're not really going to get much benefit out of it. But if you're like Vibe and you like to play very different openings, fast third hatches or fast speed or whatever it is, then the drone scout will let you know which one of those openings to choose as you progress into the mid-game. So from here, of course, because he just took the fast third, he's just going to macro up crazily. One thing to notice is he's not getting gas very fast, and he's pumping out a lot of queens. That's the reason, because the idea of getting a fast third is to really maximize the drone production on those 3 bases. And anytime you build a building, you're losing a drone, you're losing an additional larva, whereas if you build queens to defend, not only are they great defending, they also help you spread the creep to your third, which is very important. But then also, of course, you're not using up any larva or any drone to get those queens out. So, of course, eventually he gets the gas because you do need other units. But early on, if you're going to take the third that fast, I would probably recommend delaying your gas a bit and going very, very heavy queen production. You can see Vibes at 5. Some players like Gosir even go even higher. I've seen them go up to 7 or 8 before. Little Helene run by, of course, mostly just for scouting, but also if you can get a few drones, that'd be nice as well. Probably, I think you got 9 drones there, looks like. Yeah, which isn't bad for 4 Hellions, but of course it's not bad for Vibe either. He's been producing drones so heavily. So going into the mid game, right? Vibe's gonna make a choice here. We can see he's already started to make his choice. He's built a Roach Warren, Baiting Nest, and there's no evolution chamber. Oh, sorry, there's one, but he hasn't used it yet. So he's not really going to upgrades, and he is getting a Roach Warren and a Baiting Nest. So that's something as a Zerg player. If you want to delay your tech, you want to not go crazy upgrades. You don't really want to use a lot of Mutalists or Stormhosts or Infestors off your layer tech. You're going to stay low tech, but you have a decent amount of economy. What you're looking to do is produce a ton of units with that economy and do an attack to deny the Terran's third base. That's your goal with a build like this. And this is something we've seen in Zerg vs. Protoss as well, right? The feared Stefano, 11-minute Roach Max, right? That the whole idea of that build is to kill the third base. You do the same thing versus Terran, although you probably don't want to go pure Roaches. A little bit better to do what Vibes doing, where you get the speed baitings as well as the Roaches. And when you're going to do such an attack, there's nothing wrong with it. And this attack is actually much more common in Heart of the Swarm because tanks are much less common. Try and do this attack when there's tanks on the high ground, over here or over here, or even if you get deep in their base back here, is very difficult. But in Heart of the Swarm, most Terrans opt for Widow Mines, so these type of attacks can be much, much, much more effective. The key thing to keep in mind is as you do this attack is, 1, bring an Overseer with it. Because the reason they're common is because Widow Mines are popular. They're not bad against Widow Mines, but you still need to have the Overseer against Widow Mines so you clean them up, or else you're going to keep killing your units as you rally in. And it may not feel like a big impact for your first attack, but as you keep pushing in, it'll really make a big toll. But the other thing to keep in mind is make sure you know the goal of this attack, right? This isn't an all-in, right? He has 68 drones. He doesn't have to eliminate the Terran. But what he does have to do is, because his tech and upgrades are slower, he has to stop this third base from being mined, force it to be lift, and also not trade too terribly in cost efficiency. So the first step, of course, is try to deal with those widow mines. But then what's really the most important part is when you come in here, know your priority, right? What's Vibe's priority? Is killing the third base. Now, Vibe doesn't know anything that's in a natural, right? Maybe he could run him natural and kill, and it wouldn't be a bad idea to send you to scout, but the priority is this third base. So as he comes in, right, as he's coming in here, what he wants to do, he wants to funnel pretty much all of his units straight up this way, right? He wants them to all go through this channel. Now, of course, he sent a few roaches here ahead of time, and those roaches deactivate some widow mines to make sure the bulk of the units, the Banings especially, wouldn't get knocked out by those widow mines. But what he doesn't want to do is have his units get drawn off, attacking random buildings, attacking extra defenses. Maybe you can grab one roach and send that guy down to just see what's at the natural. See if it's open. Maybe you can run a few speedings to intercept the rally reinforcements. But you really want to bulk your forces to 9 at third base, because that's the whole point of this attack. So when he comes in here, this is really what's going to determine the game, if he can bust that third base or not. If he can, then it depends on how cost efficient he was. The game might go on. But right here, all these units going down here, that's not going to cut it, especially when STC made such a cost-efficient defense to all the bunkers there. He's still able to break the third, of course. He's able to get the SCVs, get this bunker down. But because he lost all those extra roaches and banings, all of a sudden this army that's left after he breaks the third isn't enough to continue to deny the third, right? That's the important part, is that, yeah, you can kill the SCVs, right? If we look at it now, he's up by 20 SCVs. But the whole goal is to delay the third as long as possible, right? To make him lift and make him not be able to retake it. And of course, if you lose your units too cost inefficiently coming up this ramp, you don't have the power to hold that low ground spot anymore. And that's really what kind of turns the game around for him, is now we're in a situation where STC got an advantage because that attack didn't really do all it was supposed to do. So now Vibe's very far behind, but the last thing I want to talk about is basically the effectiveness of speed lean run buys, right? And how important they are. Whether or not you're ahead or behind, as a Zerg player, speeding run buys should be an essential part of your game plan. Because if you want to be aggressive in the mid game, or if you don't want to be aggressive in the mid game, whatever you want to do, at the very worst case, if you run speedings into your opponent's third base, the very worst case, you see they have a bunker full of 4 Marines, and you run those speedings back and you flank your opponent when you want to engage him. The best case is you kill all their workers, right? And all of a sudden, it just basically puts your opponent in an extremely all-in situation where they have to make this attack do damage. Because of this super effective speeding run by. In fact, he actually is going to get the orbital here because STC isn't really paying attention. So, in the worst case, right, if you do that speeding run by, they have a bunker full of 4 Marines, and you run your speedings away, and this attack here is 4 Marines shorter, plus they have 100 minerals they spent on that bunker. So their attack's weaker. That's the worst case, is their attack's weaker. The best case, their attack is now all in because they're on 2 bases, and all they have to do is defend. Now, unfortunately, because Vibe, his first attack traded so poorly, he's unable to defend because more and more Terran just keeps rallying in here. The upgrades combined, you know, it's 2-2 upgrades versus only 1 Carapace. Combined with the medevac healing rate, Vibe kind of gets overrun. Too many Widow Mines, too many upgrades. Stim Bile versus just Roach Hydra in small numbers. The Stim Bile, of course, is going to do very well. And, you know, over the next minute or two, Vibe keeps rallying units in, and they just die as fast as they rally in, and he loses the game. But what's important there is, first of all, what really determined the game is that attack on a third. Vibe's units, about a third of his army got distracted, went the wrong way. And when he lost those units, he lost the ability to control the low ground. He lost a stronger army, right? He powered up a huge army, and the whole goal is that huge army is stronger than your opponent. They can't come out of their bunker position to fight you, which means they can't take your third until they macro up a few more waves of units, which will take them a couple minutes because their macro is a couple minutes behind yours because they invested into upgrades and attack and you didn't, right? So you delayed a third for a couple minutes. Because he wasn't able to do that, he was behind, and his army was weaker. The speedy run by, though, put him in a chance where all he had to do was hold that attack and he would have made a comeback. Unfortunately, too far behind from that opening bust to really make that comeback happen. He couldn't stop the army. So this wraps up analysis of this Vibe versus STC game. Take a short break and be on to our next segment.